He said it was just a drunken mistake, but it happened the night before our wedding. That sentence has lived in my head ever since the night I opened the camera app on my phone. Not to snoop, not to spy, but because the motion sensor from our wedding villa had triggered twice after midnight. And I was alone in my suite at the Four Palms Resort in Paradise Valley, sipping chamomile tea and reading my vows one last time. I should have been nervous, excited, maybe even too jittery to sleep, but I felt strangely calm. I thought I had everything: a successful business, two women I loved like sisters by my side, and Aaron Mitchell, 36, polished, persuasive, ambitious, CEO of Mitchell and Vale Capital, the kind of man who always smelled like cedar and quiet control, the kind of man I thought would never need to cheat because he already had everything, including me. We were supposed to get married at sunrise, an intimate, curated ceremony, 26 guests, each one handpicked. Every detail down to the floral arch had my name stamped all over it. I built moments like these for a living. This one was meant to be mine. And then the camera pinged again. Out of habit, I swiped open the live feed from the front gate. Nothing. Then the side patio. Nothing. Then the hallway leading to Aaron's suite, the one I told him to use that night for the sake of tradition. I froze. The screen lit up in green and grayscale. Two silhouettes. One male, one female, stumbling, laughing, leaning on each other like this wasn't a private villa booked for a wedding, but a Vegas hotel after a drunken conference. I blinked. The woman's dress slipped off her shoulder. The man's hand grazed her waist in a way no friend ever would. Zoom in. The woman was Jessica Tran, my best friend since college, my maid of honor, the one who held my hand when my father died, the one who told me 3 hours earlier that she'd go check on Aaron because he seemed a little off. The man? Aaron, still wearing the white linen shirt we'd picked out together for the rehearsal dinner. My fingers went cold around the phone. I didn't move. Not at first. I just watched. I watched them stumble into his room. I watched the door close behind them. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just saved the video to my Dropbox. 15 minutes passed, then 20. Then another camera caught a second visitor, Amber Lopez, my co-founder, my second bridesmaid. The person who spent the last 7 years building Cooper & Cove events with me from scratch. She didn't even knock. She walked straight into the same room Jessica had just entered. The rest, I didn't need footage to know. I didn't call anyone. I didn't pack my bags. I just sat there in that ocean blue suite surrounded by my monogrammed robes and peony centerpieces. And I made a decision. I would not break. I would not rage. They had taken something from me. Now I would take everything back, calmly, surgically, and without ever raising my voice. People think betrayal comes like a lightning strike, sudden, blinding, loud. But more often it comes like water under floorboards. Quiet, creeping, unseen until it rots everything from the inside. There was a time I would have taken a bullet for Jessica Tran. We met sophomore year at the University of Arizona, two business majors with big dreams and zero patience for frat parties. She had this calm, grounded energy that pulled people in. While I was loud and ambitious, she was quiet and surgical. Together, we were balance. She helped me through my first heartbreak. I held her when her mother was diagnosed with cancer. We used to sit on the floor of our dorm room, mapping out what our future wedding businesses would look like one day. She was the first person I called when Cooper & Cove booked its first luxury wedding client. I still remember the voicemail she left me. "You did it, Nat. This is just the beginning." And Amber? Amber Lopez came into the picture a little later. She was a photographer at one of our early events. Fast, reliable, crazy talented with mood boards and lighting. Clients loved her. I loved her. She brought this electric energy to the team. Like every idea was possible if you gave her a strong enough espresso and 2 hours. She became our in-house creative director within 6 months. And within a year, she was my second business partner. We worked 12-hour days, planned back-to-back events, flew cross-country for back-to-back expos. She used to crash on my couch when her car broke down. I called her the engine of Cooper & Cove. She called me the heartbeat. As for Aaron, we met at a fundraiser in Scottsdale for a local art school. He was standing near a Rothko print, sipping something neat, looking like the kind of man who didn't have to say much to own a room. He told me later that he approached me because I was the only woman there not trying to impress anyone. I remember laughing and saying, "I'm just here for the mini crab cakes." He offered me his plate. Our first date was the next night. Our lives meshed quickly, almost too quickly. He'd come from money. I hadn't. He was real estate. I was weddings. But we both had a thing for control, for vision, for winning quietly. Aaron helped us redesign our pitch decks. He gave me advice on how to negotiate venue contracts like a developer. He called me dangerous after watching me close a $75 deal in under 20 minutes. I called it love. I thought it was. I really truly thought it was. But in hindsight, the signs were always there. I just categorized them under personality differences or stress. Like the time he told me to stop wearing red lipstick to investor meetings. "It's distracting," he said. Or when Jessica once asked if she could borrow one of our clients for her side event planning brand, and I said yes without thinking. Or when Amber wanted access to our Stripe dashboard to help reconcile vendor payments while I was out sick for a week. Nothing big, just enough to build cracks. One night, I was working late in the office. Aaron brought me takeout. We were sitting on the floor, eating pad thai straight from the container, when he casually mentioned, "Hey babe, what if I helped you structure Cooper & Cove as an LLC under a trust? Just for protection. You'd still be the owner, but I'd manage the tax flow, shield some liability." I remember nodding. He sounded so confident, so sure. I didn't even ask for paperwork. That was 8 months ago. Back then, I thought building a life with someone meant merging it all. Love, trust, finances, friendships. Now I know better. Now I know that sometimes the people you think are holding your ladder steady are the ones shaking it behind your back. At 5:42 a.m., the sun started rising over the Arizona desert. Soft amber light filtered through the tall glass windows of the Four Palms wedding villa. The floral arch was perfect. Garden roses, ranunculus, baby eucalyptus, all in champagne tones I had hand-selected 6 months earlier. The chairs were already lined up in rows. The sound technician was doing a mic check. And I was gone. No text, no call, no note left on the vanity, just absence. I left my phone on airplane mode and dropped the keycard at the front desk without a word. I wore a black hoodie, no makeup, and a baseball cap that said bride across the front. Ironic, I know. The valet assumed I was a guest sneaking out from a hangover. I got into my car, a dusty gray Audi I'd owned since my 20s, and pulled onto East Lincoln Drive like I was headed for a coffee run. Only I kept driving. Past Camelback, past Tempe, past everything I had built and trusted and celebrated. The night before, I didn't sleep. I watched that footage over and over again, like a director re-editing a nightmare that had somehow become my life. Jessica entering the room, Aaron pulling her close, Amber walking in like she belonged there. 3 people I loved most in this world, folding me out like I was a layer they'd peeled away. I didn't confront them. Not that night. Not ever. Because I realized something as I stared at my reflection in the hotel bathroom mirror at 3 a.m., still wearing the white silk robe embroidered with Mrs. Mitchell. They weren't afraid of my pain. They were afraid of my silence. So I gave it to them. While the guests were waking up, sipping their complimentary herbal teas, and checking the weather for a sunrise ceremony, I was 2 hours out of town, driving north on I-17 with nothing but a suitcase and a backup hard drive in my trunk. Amber called first, at 6:12 a.m., then again at 6:14, then a text. "Nat, you okay? We're all here, guests are arriving." Like she hadn't walked into that room, like I hadn't seen her. Jessica called twice. No message. Aaron didn't call at all. He texted, "Where are you? This isn't funny." And 10 minutes later, "You're making a scene." That one made me laugh. I wasn't making a scene. I was erasing one. By 7:45 a.m., the wedding planner, who ironically was not me, was texting my cousin in a panic. I knew this because my cousin Becca sent me a screenshot with a single word, "Girl?" By 8:10, the ceremony was officially canceled. The planner announced that the bride had experienced a personal emergency. Aaron tried to play it off, told guests we'd reschedule, that it was just nerves, but he looked pale in every photo taken that morning. At 10:03 a.m., I received the first email from our venue contact. "We're sorry to hear about the change. Please advise on formal cancellation steps and deposit policies." I replied within minutes. Clear, professional. "Thank you for your discretion. Please forward all paperwork to Natalie Cooper only. I will be handling all final decisions and contracts personally. That was the moment I reclaimed my name, not as a bride, not as a partner, as a businesswoman, a strategist, a woman in full control of her own exit. No screaming, no begging, just withdrawal. I didn't drive to my mother's house. I didn't go to a friend's couch. I went to a place no one else remembered, an old property in Sedona I had once designed as a prototype for luxury retreats. It was meant to be temporary housing for brides who needed a peaceful space before the big day. Ironically, it became my sanctuary after the day I walked away. And for the first time in a long time, I slept. Not out of exhaustion, but out of clarity. The cabin in Sedona sat on a red rock ridge, hidden behind a cluster of pines and flowering agave. It had no Wi-Fi, no television, and just enough cell signal to send a single text if you stood on the east-facing porch at 7 a.m. Perfect. It was a property I designed 5 years earlier as a mock-up for a destination retreat concept. The client had gone a different direction, but the builder let me keep a spare key in exchange for helping with future contracts. No one knew about it but me. That's exactly what I needed. Obscurity. I arrived with one suitcase, one laptop, and a drive full of memories I could no longer trust. By noon, I had opened my laptop, pulled up the legal folder I used to keep in the background, and sent 2 emails. The first was to Claire Dorsey, my financial consultant. She and I hadn't worked together in over a year, but I remembered her advice from our last meeting. Always know where your signatures live and who's watching them. The second email went to David Merritt, a corporate attorney in Phoenix who once helped me revise a client's merger proposal. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't cheap, but he was meticulous, loyal, and didn't ask questions he didn't need answers to. Subject line, confidential, immediate review requested. Attached was every document Aaron had ever sent me to review later. Agreements, tax restructuring plans, LLC amendments. I hadn't looked closely back then. I was planning a wedding, running a business, trusting the people I loved. But trust is like paint. Once it cracks, you start seeing everything underneath. Within hours, David replied, "Natalie, there are serious problems here. We need to talk, in person." That night, I lit a fire in the stone hearth and poured myself a glass of water with lime. No wine, no distractions, and I opened every file I had ever filed away for later. Aaron hadn't just helped me restructure Cooper & Cove. He'd quietly transferred management rights to an umbrella entity called MVA Partners, a shell company registered in Nevada. MVA, Mitchell, Vale, Amber. I sat still, trying not to blink too fast. In one quiet filing, I had gone from owning 80% of my company to being a creative director with limited fiscal responsibility. I checked the timestamp. Signed 8 months ago. The same night we'd eaten pad thai on the office floor. Amber had witnessed it. Jessica had notarized it. I didn't cry. I documented. For the next 3 days, I built a map. Not a metaphorical one, a literal one. I created a spiderweb flowchart of accounts, emails, project files, client contracts, anything I had ever touched that now had someone else's name on it. And in the center of it all, I put 3 names: Aaron, Amber, Jessica. I found vendor invoices paid from new bank accounts, design templates with altered fonts, but still my layouts. Photos from our pitch decks sent under a new logo, Sierra and Sage Events. They weren't just cheating on me, they were building a future without me, using everything I created. But what they didn't count on was that I kept everything. Archived, time-stamped, duplicated across 2 drives because I never trusted the cloud. I still had every original draft, every proposal, every signed client agreement, clearly bearing the name Natalie Cooper. They had stolen the fruit. But I still owned the seeds. On the 4th morning, David drove up from Phoenix to meet me. We sat on the porch, looking out over the sunrise hitting the red rocks. I handed him the hard drive. "No emotion, just facts," I said. He nodded. "What do you want, Natalie?" he asked. I looked out toward the horizon, the light shifting from amber to gold. "I don't want revenge," I said. "I want leverage. Quiet, legal, irreversible leverage." He smiled. "Then you've come to the right man." The first thing David taught me was this: power doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from control of the narrative, the records, and the silence. So we didn't go to court. We went to the paper trail. It started with a simple cease and desist. David filed it on my behalf, an intellectual property claim against Sierra and Sage Events, trademark infringement, use of copyrighted materials, use of brand assets, templates, and client-facing language I had developed under Cooper and Cove. Amber got the notice first. 3 days later, she emailed me directly. "Hey, Nat, can we talk? I think there's been some sort of misunderstanding." I didn't respond, because by the time she hit send, strike two was already in motion. You see, before I ever stepped back from the company, I had retained executive access to one thing: our CRM. Every client contact, every vendor quote, every email, every invoice. So I spent a full night drafting a carefully worded message. And then through a system automated announcement, I hit send. "To our valued clients, this is Natalie Cooper, founder of Cooper & Cove. I want to personally inform you that I am no longer associated with any entity operating under the name Sierra and Sage Events. If your event was booked under Cooper & Cove prior to May, please contact me directly to confirm your planning status and vendor terms. Thank you for trusting me. I won't let that trust be abused." No accusations, no blame, just clarity and redirection. I received 38 replies in under 24 hours. 11 high-end clients canceled their contracts with Sierra and Sage by the end of the week. 2 threatened to sue for misrepresentation. And the third strike? That one was the quietest, but the sharpest. David had discovered that MVA Partners, the shell entity Aaron used to shift ownership, had been improperly registered. Nevada requires actual operating addresses, not P.O. boxes. And the digital signature used to file the LLC paperwork? It wasn't mine. It was forged. David filed a formal complaint with the Nevada Secretary of State, and because this wasn't just a civil dispute anymore, it was fraud, Aaron's firm received a direct inquiry from the Arizona Business Bureau for ethical review. That's when the mask started slipping. Jessica reached out through a mutual friend. "I didn't know the paperwork would affect you that way. I was just notarizing something for Amber. I didn't ask questions. I'm sorry." Amber went dark. No emails, no calls, which honestly was the most telling response of all. But Aaron, he tried to call me at 1:32 a.m. I didn't pick up, so he left a voicemail. "Natalie, this is getting out of hand. Look, whatever you think this is, it's not. We can talk. We can fix this. You don't need to burn everything down." Burn it down? No, I was taking back what was mine. Piece by quiet piece. Legally. Irrevocably. The following week, the company's main payment processor froze Sierra and Sage's account due to pending intellectual ownership investigation. Vendors started asking questions. One even posted a now-deleted tweet. Wild how quick some folks forget who built the brand they're stealing from. And just like that, the narrative changed. I wasn't the girl who ran from her wedding. I was the founder, reclaiming her company. The woman who walked away and came back sharper, stronger, prepared. Because here's the truth, I didn't want justice out of anger. I wanted it out of precision. And this was only the beginning. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure. Not the kind people post about on Instagram with healing quotes and yoga retreats, but the kind you build yourself, brick by quiet brick, until you're standing on a foundation that no one else poured for you. That morning, I stood outside the old Cooper & Cove office, or what used to be Cooper & Cove. Aaron had changed the signage to Sierra and Sage a few months earlier, right after the restructure. I had dressed in black slacks, a soft gray blouse, and flats. No heels, no makeup, just clarity. David met me on the sidewalk with a small folder in hand and a single nod. Inside that folder was an injunction, temporarily freezing operations under the Sierra and Sage name pending resolution of ownership disputes. It wasn't dramatic, just cold, quiet, clean. Aaron didn't even come downstairs when the papers were served, but Amber did. She stood in the hallway, holding a coffee cup with a chipped handle and staring at me like I was someone she'd never really known. "Was any of this even real?" she asked, voice tight. I paused. "Maybe it was," I said. "But it's not anymore." She didn't reply. I walked past her, into what used to be my studio, my desk, my sketches, my sample boards, and picked up a framed picture that had somehow survived every purge. It was the original Cooper & Cove logo, printed on matte paper, dated 2017, back when everything was still possible. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't owe that to anyone anymore. 2 weeks later, Aaron's lawyer called David to discuss terms. The best part? He didn't know that I had already registered a new LLC, one in my name, in my city, Haven and Hearth Creative. quietly funded by 3 former Cooper and Cove clients who refused to work with anyone else. I didn't want the company back. I wanted the freedom to build something new, without secrets, without stolen credit, without pretending I didn't see what I saw. As for Aaron, he emailed me once, "You win," but I didn't respond, because this was never about winning. It was about remembering who I was before I twisted myself into someone small enough to fit into someone else's spotlight. So I bought a small studio space in Flagstaff. Natural light, old brick, room to breathe, and on the wall across from my desk, I pinned a single note to myself: "You don't owe them peace. You owe yourself space." Because when someone breaks you in pieces, you don't put yourself back together the same way. You build something entirely new. And this time, you keep the blueprints. Thanks for listening. If this story found a quiet corner in your heart, don't forget to subscribe. And if you feel ready, share your own story in the comments. Your voice matters. It always has.